Gotham Season 5, Episode 9, The Trial of Jim Gordon.
This is Francesca Root Dodson. I play Echo on Gotham. You're listening to Gotham TV Podcast.
Hey there, this is Andrew Sellon, Mr. Penn, and the ventriloquist on Gotham.
And this is Scarface. And you're listening to Gotham TV Podcast. Yeah. And you better keep listening, you hear?
Welcome back, fellow Gothamites. Welcome back, fellow detectives. I am John, one of your hosts, and this is Gotham TV Podcast episode 139, where we are looking at Gotham Season 5, Episode 9, The Trial of Jim Gordon, and it didn't come a moment too soon. Wow, did he need to be on trial? Maybe even guillotined, dare I say.
Wow.
Exactly. But yes, welcome, fellow Gothamites.
And I'm your other host, Derek. Welcome back. Yeah. Ugh, people. This episode has some great stuff in it. I'm going to be referencing moments of the episode, obviously, for the rest of time, I think. Some really, really fun moments in here. If you want to subscribe to our podcast, fellow Gothamites, go over to the website at gothamtvpodcast.com. You can see all of our podcasts, all of our interviews that we've done over the course of the last couple of seasons, all of our reviews of the individual episodes as well. And you can keep in contact with us about your thoughts about the episodes as we go along as well.
Yes, absolutely. Please subscribe to us, rate us, leave a review, because sharing the podcast is helping to share the love of Gotham and Gotham TV Podcast. I think with that, onto our spoiler-filled review.
Yes, let's get into some of the details for the episode. This episode, as you may know, was directed by Erin Richards, the wonderful Erin Richards. This is the first episode of Gotham that she's actually directed. The last episode produced, as you may be aware of, Gotham got extended from 10 episodes to 12 episodes. And with this 12th episode, it was done after all the other ones were done and then slotted back in here in the 9th position. So basically, we're not sure exactly what coming out of this episode will be brought into the future episodes of the show. But it does feel a bit standalone and does feel like it's calling back to a lot of things that happened over the years. Part of that is because it was written by Ben McKenzie, who's written a number of episodes on the show and directed a few as well. But because he's also looking back on his life in the show and because he's looking at all the things that have led to this point in Gotham, he seems to be doing a nice reminiscing moment, I suppose, for this episode.
Yeah, it's almost biographical or something like that about other people's time on the show, and semi-autobiographical for himself, I suppose, in that sense. So, I mean, certainly with the trial of Jim Gordon, where his life is literally flashing before his eyes, and he sees how much harm he has brought through the decisions and choices that he has made, to the point where, he is in a chair ready to be fried, with the little kid from Haven, who came there for sanctuary and ultimately was shot off into outer space from the explosion.
Poor Will Thomas.
Yes, exactly. Poor Will Thomas. But, it's great to see Erin Richards directing here.
Yeah, she has directed before. She wrote and directed her own short film back in 2017 called Hot Girl. You can go to the website for that, which is hotgirlthemovie.com. It's about a 16-minute short. It's a movie about a struggling actress who's finding difficulty getting work because everybody's just treating her like the hot girl and not the actress that she is. So really interested to see that one. And really great that they've given this final episode to Erin Richards. We understand because she has shared a video, and Andrew Sellon shared a video, and Robin Lord Taylor all shared videos of this final moment of this episode where everybody's watching the wedding of Jim and Lee Tompkins in the GCPD. That was the final shot ever put on film, effectively, in the GCPD and for the TV show Gotham. So it was a big emotional moment for everybody, and to have it directed by Erin Richards is a really interesting choice. I think that's quite cool. But as you can probably tell, I may start gushing with tears as we get into this episode at the final moments of Gotham. So, John, I'm going to let you take it over. Do you want to tell us what they gave us with your synopsis for the episode?
Sure. Attempting to establish a ceasefire as supplies in Gotham have become critical, Jim Gordon is shot. Rushed to the GCPD, Lee Tompkins operates on him to stem his blood loss, but Jim passes out and begins to hallucinate. His dreamlike state soon turns into a nightmare, as Jim Gordon's life, decisions, and failures are put on trial, all while he bleeds out. Harvey Bullock discovers that a lovesick Victor Zsasz was the perpetrator who shot Jim Gordon while under Poison Ivy's influence. Ivy's roots, however, extend beyond killing Jim, as she also places her spell on Bruce and Lucius to target the drinking water supplies, all in an attempt to prevent the reunification with the mainland and to rebuild Gotham with her plants. Meanwhile, as Barbara and Penguin consider their next moves, Lee has a life-changing moment as she saves Jim from another attempt on his life by Ivy. As Jim awakes from his hallucination and recovers from his wounds, he makes the decision to live for Lee and his unborn child. After 1 month passes, Jim and Lee Tompkins are married by Bullock in the GCPD precinct, and everyone lives happily ever after.
Aww.
But this is Gotham, and as the two lovebirds wed, Barbara secretly makes an important decision about her child. Dun dun dun.
Of course, it's Gotham. We can't have a totally happy ending for everybody, can we? Especially with 3 more episodes to go. And there was a little pointer from a couple of people online that because we have this big happy moment with Jim and Lee Tompkins and we still have 3 episodes left, how long can the happiness truly last in Gotham, really?
Yeah, I would say Lee is probably dead as a dodo.
Well, we'll see. Don't want to spoil anything. We don't know what happens in the future, but we'll see if something really bad comes to threaten Lee Tompkins, at least for these last 3 episodes. It wouldn't really surprise me at all.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just theorizing, but yes, happy ever after moments, as we will discover through our case notes, very rarely happen in Gotham, certainly in its current state. But on to case note number 1.
Yes.
A truly Gotham ceasefire.
Yes, a ceasefire, because it's broken by a gunshot. Of course. I do really like this whole concept at the beginning of the episode. We have Jim and Lee having the conversation as Jim brings all of the GCPD with all the bullets they have left to go off and call all of the gangs together to broker some kind of ceasefire, because the supplies of drinking water are critical in Gotham. I find this really interesting because it is what you always say about Jim Gordon, that he has this kind of complex, this hero complex. He wants to save everything, yet puts everybody in danger. And it's the same conversation that Lee's having with him. She's saying to him, you know, Lucius is working on the drinking water at the moment. He seems to have it solved. He'll have all the drinking water that we need within the next couple of weeks. So you don't need to do this, Jim. And Jim goes, yes, I do. We'll run out of water in 3 months. But Lee's telling him there is a way out of this, but he still feels like he needs to do something. He needs to get up out of his chair and go out and actually go eye to eye with loads of gangs.
Well, it's that moment where you just want Lee to grab him by the scruff of the neck and to slap him around the face, just to awaken him from his own delusional state of he is the only person that can save Gotham.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting that they do this, and ultimately, you know, his blustering, his insistence, I suppose, that he must go to have a ceasefire amongst the gangs. You know, it's in City Hall, it's at Penguin's base, at that most auspicious of occasion, and then, you know, the bang rings out as Jim is shot. But I
do think it works. I do think the conversation with Leslie works, though.
Definitely.
I think he does start to question it, but already has this plan in place that he's going to go and meet the gangs. You see it in his eyes where he's going, ooh, maybe you have a point, actually, but I have to go because this meeting's at 3 o'clock and it's 10 to 3 kind of thing, you know?
Absolutely.
Seems like he's really got it that he has to go right now, but they'll come back and talk about it later, which is what sets up the whole episode, really.
Yeah, and I mean, it does really feed into the trial of Jim Gordon as he is passed out on the morgue table in the GCPD, hallucinating and being unconscious. It really is the setup for that, because most of his failures, but also his decisions and choices, have been to be that hero, that he is the only one that can do it. It's not other people. So it really does set that up, and it very much is one of the traits of Jim Gordon here. I think what's really good here, though, is that, you know, it is to accelerate the reunification of Gotham, you know, in terms of the clean water supply. That is treating the river water so that the chemicals are no longer present there. But to provide drinking water. And this ceasefire is to show the outside world that peace has returned to Gotham, that it is not in a chaotic, violent state. And I think this is another really nice sort of flip side to the other parts of this episode with Ivy Pepper as well.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing about the flashback at the beginning of the episode where you see a moment where they're talking about Haven, I suppose. You see Jim standing in front of the building as it's exploding and taken down. I have to say that's edited really well to make it look like it's Jim's fault, when actually it's not at all. It's the rocket that's come across the way from Riddler, who's been taken control of by Bane, and the I guess the senator that we don't know anything about yet. We'll know more in the next couple of episodes, but it's not Jim's fault. They blame Jim again. They say, you brought all these people and made the city look safer than we wanted to look, so we're going to blow up Haven, So he does seem to blame himself a lot for a lot of things that happen. Even the successes that he's had, he blames them on the bad things that happened afterwards. But that's just everybody else treating Jim pretty badly.
Yeah, it is a great bit of editing where Will Thomas is saying how he's come to Haven to be safe and secure, and thank you, Jim. And then the next moment, Haven is consumed in an explosion and a fireball. It's as though
you were going to say kerploded.
Yeah, but it is one of those things where it looks like Jim left the gas hob on, cooking sort of a cooked breakfast after getting in a little bit drunk,
and someone had a fag.
Yeah, exactly. But ultimately here, Jim is shot, and the big question is, by who?
Can we quickly talk about the actual meeting with all the gangs as well? Now, obviously, we don't get all the leaders of the gangs because they're all guest stars, so you can't bring them all back in there. But there's some really cool moments in here where we have the Scarecrow's gang, we have their outfits, which we've only seen once, I think, back in episode 1, actually, I think, of the season, where we saw all the gang that were surrounding him. We see the mutants in there, we see their outfits, and we see a few other gangs as well. I like having all of them in the same room together, like you'd never have in Gotham. They're all challenging each other. The opening moment of it is the guy walking in, turning on a chainsaw and walking up the corridor of the city hall. I think that's really interesting to have these people all in the one room together.
Yeah, it's all those touch points of the various gangs we've met in this season in the chaotic cut off Gotham. Yeah, definitely really, really good. I really like the fact that Penguin and Babs are looking on from high, discussing kind of Jim, but also Penguin being a little baiting with Babs on her pregnancy and who the father of the unborn child is. It's really nice, and again, it's that tension between Babs and Penguin. I think it is really good. But yes, in an attempt to bring about a ceasefire, it is the firing of a gun that breaks that 5-second ceasefire that's just happened in Gotham. And Jim is shot and wounded and bleeding out. And the question is, by who? And I think in that immediate moment, he's rushed to the GCPD for Lee to save him with her skills, which I find was a really funny part of here, because she goes, I haven't done this since general practice, doing surgery. And I'm like, but you were doing all the doctoring at the fight ring, and while she was the Queen of the Narrows, she was known to be the general practitioner, giving out the medicines, diagnosing, and patching people up. So
it seemed like a weird line from her. I wonder if it was something to do with a gunshot wound, that's what she was trying to say. She hadn't removed a bullet from somebody's body. Maybe, but that's only me giving the show a little bit more credit than I think. It felt like a weird line from her, because she has been known as the Doctor for so many years. And we know from comic book Lee Tompkins, this character is very different from the comic book Lee Tompkins, but comic book Lee Tompkins is the one that always takes care of Batman when he has injuries and wounds. So that version of the character would definitely be taking care of bullet wounds for Bruce in the future. So it felt like an odd line, definitely. But we do have Bullock investigating the murder of Jim Gordon. I love how much Harvey Bullock has been given these last two episodes.
Yeah.
We've heard before from Ben McKenzie when he writes the shows, he finds the most easy person to write for is Donal Logue, because he feels like his acting allows him to do lots of serious stuff and comedy moments, and he gets both in this episode. We have this moment here where he returns to Penguin's house and just instantly goes in and punches Penguin to the floor. That's not generally the way people have dealt with Oswald Cobblepot over the last 5 seasons. It really feels like this is Bullock back going, I'm going to take care of the person who took out my partner.
Yeah, definitely.
And he blames both Barbara and Oswald here. And I think there is a real reaction to this version of Harvey. Barbara instantly is a little bit scared of him, thinks he's a little bit volatile. And he says, it's the people in this room that have caused it. And I think he's including himself in that by allowing himself to go along with Jim and bringing Jim into this, or allowing Jim to go into this situation. He's gotten shot. That's why Harvey's going into this whole investigation and making sure he's the one that's going to solve it.
Yeah, it's a really nice moment for Harvey Bullock. And of course, it's throwing that red herring of who actually is behind it. Harvey here thinking that the reason why the venue of City Hall, Penguin's base, was used and offered by Penguin and Babs was for them to do an underhand trick to take him out. That's
Exactly.
immediately what you see here, but it is that red herring because it's seen that the bullet comes from outside. There's a really nice moment where he actually does some detective work. It feels really Gotham Central here, or CSI Miami, or CSI Gotham, shall we say.
Absolutely. I was definitely thinking of the Arkham Asylum games.
Yeah.
There's a motion, and even in the Batman VR game, there is this thing that you can do where you can find the trajectory of a bullet from its location where the shot took place, or you can find the fragments of the bullet and repiece the bullet together. I think we even saw that in one of the Dark Knight movies, one of the Christopher Nolan movies, where he repieces a bullet together to find individual markings. Here what we find is when he puts the bullet together, it has the Z on it, or the VZ on it, of Victor Zsasz, as we saw earlier on in the season. So nice little touchback, and really cool to see Harvey doing the Batman detective work. But while Bullock is working out this bullet and doing his trajectory analysis while he's there, he does have that moment with Barbara where he's saying to her, "This is the father of your child." And she's saying to him, "I wouldn't possibly have arranged his murder. He's really important to me." And Bullock is telling her, well, the best thing you can do then is maintain this ceasefire. So she does, in the only way Barbara knows how, get everybody over, serve them a couple of drinks, poison the drinks, and say to them, if you don't hold the ceasefire for at least 24 hours, you're not getting the antidote. Great little moment. Feels really Batman 66.
Really,
idea.
yeah, really good. And I must say, I never thought we would say trajectory analysis on the podcast.
Good,
so there you go. Another...
I didn't even stumble over it.
Yes, another first for Gotham TV podcast. So, yes, on to case note number 2 with that. The hallucinations and bleeding, Jim's trial. Really good here. Jim finally gets his trial that he deserves, I think, for all the failures and disasters that have accompanied him as a rising star in the GCPD.
I know you've wanted this for so long, but there's only just a couple of little complaints I have about this, and mostly it's because I know it was written in a short period of time. It was written over about 2 weeks and then produced towards the end of the production run. A couple of little things I wish they'd been able to do and get there. We had a judge that was mentioned all the way throughout season 1, 2, 3, and 4 of Gotham, Judge Bam Bam. He's the one that they always got the the blank documents to allow them to just write in anybody's name and break into their house.
The arrest warrants.
The arrest warrants, that's it. And just and do that. So they mentioned this character of Judge Bam Bam over and over again. I wish they had just called this judge that is prosecuting Jim, I wish they'd called him Judge Bam Bam, just to give that mention in the 5th season to this character, and kind of tie things up a little bit as to why this particular person would be presiding over the case.
It would have been really good, wouldn't it? I think it would have been a nice little nod back. I mean, for me, even if it had been the executioner and Michael Chiklis being asked to come back, and again, it's probably just down to scheduling that is not possible, but it would have just been nice to have seen him in this crazy world of cut-off Gotham. You have the most crazy person to preside over the judging and trial of Jim Gordon in his mind, which is the executioner, judge, jury, and executioner. It would have been really good fun, I think.
Yeah, and also, that is someone that is related in the history to someone that has gone through the experiences Jim went through and ended off going crazy from them. So would have been nice to see that called out there. Also, of course, and we know there's loads of Gothamites out there that would be really interested in seeing this, I absolutely thought when the judge calls out it's time for the prosecution to enter, I totally thought that was going to be Nicholas D'Agosto, who played Harvey Dent back in season 1 and season 2. And I think he had one episode in season 3. Don't quote me on that one. That might be season 2.5, 2.5. It might have had an episode in there. But I'd love to see Nicholas D'Agosto come back just for one episode, just for this moment here to be the judge. Of course, it's taking place in Jim's head, so it makes sense that Jim would also be the one prosecuting and defending himself. Makes lots of sense, of course. But I think it would have been cool to have the personification of those characters in there.
Absolutely. I think it would have been a nice little touch, but certainly, as you say, given the time, given scheduling, it was probably unlikely that this happened. But instead we have Jim's subconscious trying to decide whether the people of Gotham would be better off without him. And, you know, what his decisions have led to that have made people and young children like Will Thomas looking for sanctuary in Haven, how they have ultimately been failed. What is it from another DC? You have failed this city, Jim Gordon, potentially. Or has he? That is the thing.
Starling City, yes, possibly failed there, so don't go to Starling City, Jim. I don't know. I think the whole purpose of the entire show is, why is there a need for Batman? And the need for Batman is because Jim can't save everybody. He's making the right decisions. He's making similar decisions to the decisions that Batman would, or any good man of Gotham would. But unfortunately, there are so many people attacking. There are so many people on the attack that even when he makes the right decision and saves tons of people, there's someone in the background that thinks that's the wrong thing to do and kills them all, you know? That's what we're seeing here. But it is a legitimate question, and I know it's one that many people have questioned over the years, is why does Jim have this complex? Why does Jim feel he can be the only one saving? I love the joke about the GCPD, really, which is, oh no, guys, you just sit at your desks and do the paperwork. Myself and Harvey will go out and solve every single case in the city, you know? I do love that joke, and I know that that's playing into Ben McKenzie's script here, is having a bit of fun with the idea that he has this hero complex and has to save everybody, yet everybody dies because, hey, it's Gotham.
Yeah, I mean...
But nobody does in Gotham, of course.
But that's it. I think it's a really nice touch point here, because it is that whole point that, you know, Jim Gordon, the character, is burdened by the amount of responsibility that he feels is his and his alone.
Yeah.
And you see that even with the Batman there, that responsibility still hangs heavy on his shoulders. And so this is a really nice touch, I think. And I think it's really good to see, you know, different versions of like Leslie Tompkins testifying against him, you know, where she seems like she's about to support him and tell him that he's okay, and then immediately rips that from under his feet. And also the burnt residents of Haven, including Will Thomas, you know, still flaming.
Great makeup job. From
really nicely done. And it all sort of leads to the judgment that he is guilty.
Do you remember that moment that
really
I thought that Will
nice.
Thomas was going to be maybe Robin coming up in the future, or that he was the bad guy that had set the bomb in the place and he was getting out and we were going to see him in the future?
No.
This is not how I expected Will Thomas to come back.
No.
At all. But really cool.
Great theories, Derek.
Hey, look.
But alas, each one of them sort of drowned before they started, really.
Hey, we've had like 400 episodes of our podcasts over the years. I don't think I've ever got a theory right, unfortunately. But we do get some great moments in here. We have Jim, as you say, failing and being found guilty. So while he's waiting in the prison in the GCPD, in his mind prison, he sees the wake attended by so many villains. What a great choice here. It really does feel like Ben McKenzie was writing his script while walking around through the costume department when they were getting rid of some of the costumes at the end of filming. So he's able to pick out things like, well, you don't actually need to bring back the actor who played the Scarecrow to have Scarecrow on screen, because we have the mask. So we see Scarecrow in there, we see Professor Pig, we see the Court of Owls mask on somebody that looks similar to Leslie, the member of the Court of Owls that he had beaten in the past. We see loads of people in their Arkham Asylum costumes as well, all in this wake where everybody's celebrating, including Riddler and Penguin, with Riddler on the piano and Penguin singing for He's a Jolly Good Fellow, with all of the other villains of Gotham who are, I guess, now free if Jim dies, right?
Yeah,
So.
I mean, it's a really good moment, to be honest, and I think, you know, it leads nicely to the electric chair where Lee is walking towards him with the baby. But then really kind of shocking moment where the baby is just kind of dropped, sort of rolled out from the swaddling clothes onto the floor, just as then young Will Thomas gets his kind of revenge to an extent and flicks the switch for the electric chair to fry Jim Gordon. But I love the kind of, it was just this intense build-up to Jim being electrocuted in the electric chair, with this baby being tossed in front of him after sort of she no longer wants anything to do with him.
Yeah, I think she asked the question of him, you know, can you change for your child? And he says something like, I would try.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the exact line from Jim Gordon. He says, I'll try, but I'm not sure whether it'll work. And because he says that, that's why this version of Lee Tompkins tosses the baby to the ground. But I know it's a baby. I know it's not a real baby. Obviously, I know it's a prop, but I did think it was quite shocking. It's just something you don't see on TV. Yeah. You know, this is a show that takes place between 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock, and even 7 o'clock in some places in the US. But you know, they do things like, you know, they operate on Jim Gordon with his shirt still on because, well, you can't show a man with his shirt off at that time of the night, but you can show a woman throwing a baby to the ground and a 10-year-old, 11-year-old kid throwing the switch for an electric chair. I know, How did they explain that to his parents? Like, you know, bring Will Thomas back, right? We're going to get him to be the one to flick the switch to an electric chair, killing Jim Gordon.
But in some states, don't they do a lottery?
Not for 10-year-olds. I think you have to be at least over 18 to flick the switch on the electric chair. Crazy. But no, I did think this was a shocking moment. We didn't mention it on our video over on YouTube about the shocking moments of the episode because it is just that very minor, small moment with Leslie dropping the baby and with Will flicking the switch that are shocking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, literally shocking.
I think the nice thing here as well with all this going on is that, you know, we're getting cutbacks into the real world, so to speak. And I love the moments where it comes back to Leslie in the morgue at the GCPD trying to save him. You know, we get a little glimpse of Harvey Bullock piecing together the bullets right next to Jim with the fragments that Leslie's taken out of him. We have this really nice moment where she's really doubting herself. She's helping Jim out here. She still has these feelings for him, but he has now this unborn child about to arrive with Barbara, who tried to kill her. She doesn't feel that she can have this baby and work with Jim and Barbara to raise this child. She's lost her own child. You know, there's so many things in this mix, and I think Leslie Tompkins plays it absolutely, really phenomenally good. And I think that moment where Alfred then comforts her because of these misgivings, all these different conflicting views, and he does it from his perspective of having to sort of embrace bringing up Bruce after the death of Thomas and Martha, I thought was really, really nice. And dare I say it, within this household, a few tears were shed.
Yeah, they were mine. I have to say, I love Sean Pertwee, always have. I think his delivery of lines like this, of the relationship between himself and Bruce, are so strong.
Yeah, absolutely.
So well put together. The lines that he's saying here about, you know, when I see him using a skill that I taught him or sharing a private joke that only the two of us know, they're the best moments of my life. I thought it's just a beautiful moment. I know it's really funny in my head because I'm thinking Leslie Tompkins probably going, you know, oh, when he sees Bruce making an omelette that he taught him how to make, when actually he's saying, when I see him use a weapon or punch someone out, and I know I taught him that, you know. I think that's really, really interesting that you got that. And it kind of adds so much to the character of Alfred. That's why he's so proud over the years of Batman and of his Bruce Wayne, because he got to teach him a lot of these skills, and when he sees Batman using them, he's so happy that this is his boy, this is his man that he has helped to forge, I suppose, which I think is just such a lovely sentiment from Alfred. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think it's a really nice moment. And of course, Sean Pertwee's really great voice, his Master Chef voice, if you will, is just on fine form. Not as good as when he described how to make the cheese sandwich a couple of weeks ago. No, that was definitely his Master Chef voice. Definitely. On to case note number 3. From a lot of beatings for Jim Gordon, from all of this moment where he's beating himself down and when he's getting electrocuted. Let's go on to the fun one, really. The most fun character you can put in any episode, really. Every episode that he's appeared in this season, both of them at least, Anthony Carrigan playing Zaz, but this time lovesick Zaz and Poison Ivy. The whole storyline around the two of them is so much fun in this episode. Yeah, and I think Victor Zaz, you know, OK Corral shooting his way through all of the GCPD to get to Jim because he has effectively come to finish the job off that Poison Ivy has spellbound him to do. You know, he's lovesick. He's got notions of little Zazes and Zazettes and little Ivies all boinging around the park in central Gotham. All these little offsprings of Poison Ivy and Victor Zaz all together. He's on a mission to do it for Poison Ivy. Yeah. I love this. And we see, you know, the power of this spell and control that Poison Ivy can have as well on Lucius and Bruce. But for Victor Zaz, he's completely loved up. He's lovesick, and he will do anything to gain
the affection of Poison Ivy.
Yeah, I was a little bit confused by that scene as he walks up, because there's so many GCPD cars with all the police waiting there and shooting at Zsasz as he shoots back at them. I couldn't work out whether Bullock has just worked out that it's Victor Zsasz. Had he sent them all out to get Victor Zsasz, and Victor Zsasz was shooting back against them, or was this Victor Zsasz off his own back, arriving at the GCPD? Particularly because Alfred comes out and punches him, and then they take him to the GCPD. So I know that was his target. I'm not sure whether it was the GCPD going out or whether it was Victor Zsasz coming to them, if that makes sense. There just seemed to be so many of them there.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I thought it was Victor Zsasz coming to the GCPD, because there were a lot of cars there. Bruce and Alfred have been around the GCPD.
Yeah.
For me, it was him going to finish the job off with Jim, because we kind of get that later where Ivy's also come to finish off the job, and he feels like, is he going to get killed or not? Yeah. And that's a really nice moment where he's in chains at the GCPD.
But yeah, you're probably right. It must be Victor Zsasz coming to the GCPD, because it is Alfred that comes out and gets him, and Alfred is staying there while Bruce is off having his date with Selena. So we have that wonderful oi oi moment from Alfred as he punches Zsasz to the ground and then kicks him in the face when he realizes he's there for Jim Gordon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice moment. Yeah,
really good. And Bullock gets the fist on again, and a headbutt and a punch by Harvey Bullock to Victor Zsasz in chains, as he's really trying to find out who has ordered Zsasz to do it. Bullock thinks it's just another contract killing that Zsasz is involved with, until he realizes that maybe Zsasz isn't behaving the way he normally would do. And certainly I love how he won't say her name, because he knows that he can't do because of the spell.
Yeah.
And in the end, it's like he's talking about plants, and so it is, it's Poison Ivy. It's Ivy Pepper. And he's like, Ivy Pepper, Ivy Pepper, Ivy Pepper. And he just keeps repeating the name. And then to the point where he goes, how about Ivy Pepper Zsasz? That has a really nice ring to it. Again, thinking of little mini Zazettes all being born and boinging around.
I love it. And I did mention it earlier on. I love as we get the arrival of Ivy Pepper, where she comes in and rubs him across the head, showing him some affection to keep him in line. That also that great moment when he's talking to Jeff, I think it is, the GCPD officer.
Poor Jeff.
Saying to him, don't worry, someday you'll meet someone and the rest of your life will be perfect. You deserve it. It'll be wonderful. And then Jeff gets shot in the head by another member of the GCPD, falling to the
Jeff.
ground. Maybe not. Yes.
No. But ultimately, Zsasz goes out to cause a distraction, whilst Ivy heads to the morgue to finish the job. And you get a great moment. Again, he's in full view. I don't know how he doesn't get shot, but he's firing away. He's guns, handguns, machine guns, shotguns, you name it. He's firing them at all the GCPD, and it's Harvey in that bomb suit, that Kevlar bomb suit that we know and love from the Riddler, who manages to take him down. Really, just so good, because I mean, Harvey in a bomb suit is really funny.
Yeah, absolutely, especially
really good.
It's a brand new look for Harvey. We haven't seen him in anything other than the trench coat and hat for so many years.
But that's it. It's proper action packed. It's like, I'm surprised Harvey would change to get that pumped in order to take down Victor Zsasz.
I love it. But you do hear from Victor Zsasz going, oh, don't worry, I'm not going to kill any of you. I'm just here to cause a distraction so that Ivy can go in and kill Jim. He's basically, the reason why he doesn't get shot is because he's using his guns just to keep down anybody who's about to shoot at him. That's all it is.
And it's like, oh, I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
I love that. Yes, maybe Ivy, you've got too much control. They have absolutely no thinking for themselves.
Exactly. But yeah, really, really, really interesting. And again, we have this fight with Poison Ivy and Leslie Tompkins when Poison Ivy does get in to the room with Jim Gordon. We have a nice battle between the two of them, I think. And if you think back to like season 1 where we had that Barbara Leslie Tompkins fight that we just laughed at how bad the fight was, think of how far the show has come now when we see Ivy versus Leslie Tompkins, this really strong version of Leslie Tompkins, who wins in the end.
Yeah, definitely.
Or does she? Because Ivy does get her hands on the adrenaline that's supposed to be there to save Jim Gordon, smashes on the ground and says to her, you're going to feel much more pain than I will ever feel after this. Nice line from Ivy.
Yeah, really good line. Yes, I presume Ivy will survive. I'm sure there will be plant-based magic that plugs that wound.
I'm sure.
That,
Or a plaster.
Yeah, or a plaster that Lee Tompkins has given. Yeah, I think this is really nice where, you know, you're cutting between Jim in the hallucination with his trial, his impending death, whilst he's continuing to bleed out, and all this craziness going on at the GCPD, all orchestrated by Ivy, who is trying to do exactly the opposite of Jim Gordon. That's why she's after him. She doesn't want Gotham to be reunited, because from her stronghold in the park, in the central park of Gotham, she wants to create her Plantopia.
Exactly.
Where, you know, she recasts Gotham in a green plant-based image, and humans are, remember, the manure for those plants, like we saw earlier on in this season with the burn the witch moment, you know? So again, this is, it's really good, but I like how Lee, you know, fends her off basically and sends her packing, really. So really nice moment here. I think on to case note number 4, because we also have another 2 people spellbound by Poison Ivy.
Well, yes, but definitely we want to bring in the big moment at the beginning of the episode. We finally get a date here, I think. Maybe. Kind of.
Possibly.
Yeah, between Selena and Bruce. I think it's a lovely moment, really. You know?
I think it is the best canned dinner date ever. I mean, you have those really interesting ads. I think they're joke ads, basically, where you can get, you know, your Christmas dinner in a can, and it's just kind of like layers in one can of like potato, turkey, carrot, Brussels sprouts, Christmas pudding, smoked salmon, and all that, and it's just really funny.
Okay, I've never tasted Christmas dinner in a can, but I know I've had bangers and mash from a can.
Yeah,
and
and
it's awful.
You can get spotted dick from a can as well. That sponge pudding.
Right.
You can get chocolate pudding from a can.
But with the dinner ones, you pull the ring pull on it, and it heats up the inside of the can.
Oh, it's
for
like
a
the
couple of
coffee.
minutes. It's awful.
It sounds grim.
It's really
pretty
awful.
grim.
Yeah.
And the other one you can get is like an English breakfast in a can as well. Again, I don't know whether it's jokey.
No, it's not absolutely true.
But it's just the grimmest possible thing ever. But it is the best canned dinner that Kat and Bruce have ever eaten.
Yes.
In these opulent surroundings, being oogled by Poison Ivy from afar. But she lets them eat the canned dinner.
It is a bit of a weird one, isn't it? It does feel like she's there for about 45 minutes while they're having their dinner and having this conversation about Bruce leaving Gotham City, because he feels like, once, similar to Jim, he feels like all the things that he's done, and recounts a bunch of them, of all the things that happened over the seasons with the Court of Owls and with Ra's al Ghul and all of those types of things that have gone on because of Bruce's choices, putting the city of Gotham in danger. And we have the reaction from Selena going, oh, please don't leave, because this is your home, kind of thing. So it does come back later on in the episode, but I really like that they have this conversation, and that's when we have Poison Ivy coming in after watching them from afar for 45 minutes.
Yeah, and she sends the mutant leader who we saw Selena take down earlier in the season. She sends him after Selena. Yeah, the love has definitely been lost between Selena and Ivy Pepper as she sends this hulking great big dude after her. But she does manage to get a few scratches in, a few, get a bit of blood done. The whipping, excellent stuff. So
I like that the first time
she's
that
really good.
Yeah, I like that the first time that she throws the whip at him, he grabs it and puts her on the floor, because we didn't really see him have a winning moment in the fight the first time. So you kind of need to see that he is quite powerful still, even though she's a great fighter. And also here, we did get a theory right, John. This is where Bruce is living. This area is where Bruce is living, the area where the mutants were running the streets. They were saying that all the rich people in Gotham had left quickest, so all of these houses were empty. But it seems like Bruce is actually living in this area. We made that theory earlier on in the season. So this may not be his particular house. It seems like they were breaking into it, according to Selena. But definitely he does have a residence in the area.
Exactly. But from the best canned dinner ever eaten to the best eau de toilette or cologne used ever. According to Bruce, the whiff of scent that Poison Ivy gives in order to spellbind him to her will and to her plan, and that he uses on Lucius is really, really, really nice. He wants to introduce Lucius to this whole new smell sensation.
Yes, yeah. I have to say, David Mazouz's performance in this scene, along with Chris Chalk's performance as Lucius Fox, the two of them together are so good. You haven't seen the two of them on screen alone for quite a long time, but having the conversation about the water treatment plant, Bruce comes in and goes, "How's it going?" and gets this whole scientific degree from the course of Lucius Fox telling him how they're treating all the water, and the face on him when he's reacting or not reacting at all to the response from Lucius. It's kind of like, he said it went well. Okay, that's my cue from Poison Ivy, is to then spray him in the face.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
I'm trying to save all the people here, and David with his people. A response from Lucius.
So
with
good.
Did you just say people? Really good. Really
That was
good
an abrupt change of topic. Really nice comedy moment here between these two, and I love this kind of Laurel and Hardy-esque team up that you get between the two as they shut down the treatment plant in order to reverse and destroy all the filters and all the good work that they've been doing, again, to try and stop the reunification and to reintroduce the chemicals back around Gotham. So really nice. And of course it's saved by the cat.
Yes. Because
it is Selina Kyle that comes to save both Bruce and Gotham. She gives Bruce a good old batter around the face to get him out of that Poison Ivy vibe, I suppose.
The Poison Ivy funk. Yes, it seems like the cure for everything is punch it. Or kick it in the face like she does to Lucius, which is another great moment. I feel like we have seen a fair bit of Selina Kyle fighting this season, but we know from background stuff that unfortunately Cameron Bicondova had broken her leg before this filming of the first part of the season, so a lot of the time she was on crutches and couldn't do any of the even intro moves to her fights. I'm not sure. It felt like in this scene where she jumped up on the table and then put the kick into Lucius's face, that felt like it was a Cameron Bicondova move, not her stunt double, who does most of the fighting moves. So hopefully she was on the mend by the time this episode came around. And I did really like the reaction from Lucius again to getting kicked in the face. Did you notice that actually the 6 bars behind Lucius, which are the
going red,
and we saw that it was in the last bar, in the last of the 6th bar, when she kicks him in the face and he's able to push the button to stop everything from happening. So once again, another Batman down to the last second kind of save, which is
saved by the cat.
Yeah, exactly.
Not by the bat.
A Catwoman moment. Yes, of course. Wonderful though. Really, really enjoyed these scenes, and always love Lucius and Bruce teaming up in this show, especially with Selina Kyle in there too. Let's get on to our final case now, John.
And everyone lives happily ever after.
Aww.
The wedding of Jim and Lee. Yes. Yeah. It was a special little moment, actually. I mean, maybe slightly on the verge of ultra cheesy, but I think we can forgive them here.
I know there's going to be criticism out there from other Gotham fans or TV fans who aren't huge fans of Gotham seeing this episode, because they are still in the middle of being cut off from the rest of the country, having problems with getting food and clean drinking water. And we have this moment of, and 1 month passed, and then we have a wedding in the GCPD, because what happened during that month? Where's Jeremiah? Where's Echo? Where's all the bad guys trying to blow stuff up? Because a month passing in Gotham is like 7 years of attacks normally in every other city. So what did go on during that month? But I think it was beautiful. I think we need to give a little bit of credit to the show to say, look, you're on your final season. Everybody knows it's finishing up in the next couple of episodes. So let's have a nice happy moment.
If they can't do it now, when can they do it? And I thought it was a real special moment, because I think, you had Harvey Bullock, you had Jim and Lee all reuniting. You have Lucius and Alfred. You've got Cat and the Bat, the Proto-Bat. You've got Bruce and Selina there. And of course, with all this love being spread around, we get the Bat and Cat kiss.
Aw, so nice.
Yeah.
So nice. And, I love that Selina wears her claw-covered gloves to a wedding. Hey, why not? We have that moment between the two of them. We see it as a shared kiss, both of them really needing that moment from each other, I suppose. And then we get the reaction from Lucius and Alfred directly in front of them, looking at them going, finally. Like everybody else in the audience, finally.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're kissing. It's starting their relationship off. Don't know whether we're going to see much more of that, whether we're going to have time to see any more of this character stuff for the rest of the season in the other 3 episodes. But some great stuff in here. I loved having Harvey Bullock delivering the service as he gives his speech, like a best man speech to Jim Gordon, where we hear him talking about, when he came here first, he was an impressionable young detective, a bit of a pain in the ass, and here we are 5 years later, and now he's a pain in the ass, but he's a captain,
Yeah, exactly.
Nice stuff. And then he goes on to Leslie Tompkins and says, you've always had his back. That's what love is, except for that time that you were under the Tetch virus and tried to kill him. But hey, it's Gotham. Isn't that just love here? Really like those moments between them. And it felt like, I think Sean Pertwee put up a photograph of this moment, this final moment that they filmed together on Twitter, saying, I couldn't attend the wedding of Ben McKenzie and Morena Baccarin, but at least I was here for the second wedding that they had. So it did probably feel like something for all of the cast to rally around and be there for Ben McKenzie and Morena Baccarin's actual wedding. And one last thing I really loved on the speech from Harvey Bullock, or the service that Harvey Bullock's giving, is he ends it off with, and by the power vested in me by absolutely no one, I now pronounce you man and wife, because that means they're not actually married, right? He has no actual power to marry them, but they are marrying in front of everybody else.
Yeah, no, really, really good stuff. And of course, as with all good Gotham, whether this is happily ever after is still up in the air, here, because we do have the Machiavellian Barbara Keene, Babs, making plans that doesn't involve Jim about their unborn child. Mm-hmm. She is going to get off that rock and she's going to go laters to Lee and Jim. Yeah. So, again, this is a big moment because...
Do you know, I loved Robert Lord Taylor's performance in here when he's sitting there giggling away at the idea that effectively Barbara Keene did all of this work to get all of the villains of Gotham to put down their arms just to impress Jim, to show him that she's turned the corner. And actually, he's fallen back in love with Lee Tompkins and marries her instead. Yeah.
This is
a little bit of glee that's there from the Penguin going, you idiot, how do you think you actually get back in the good graces with Jim Gordon?
Yeah, this is a woman scorned, absolutely.
A little bit.
A little bit,
I think she's going, okay,
again.
Well, that obviously didn't work, I'm out, I think, rather than, she's not going to attack them, she's not going to threaten Lee Tompkins again. I think she just wants to get out of there now. I'm done, I've tried my best, this guy's obviously not going to come after me now, so off I go with his child. So whenever, I suppose, that submarine being built from scratch by Ed Nigma gets finished.
I love that conversation as well, where Penguin goes, well, how long do you think a submarine is going to take to build? We're building it from scratch. It's not like ready to go submarine. Barbara getting more and more impatient about getting off the Gotham rock.
Exactly. And taking the baby with her. That's it for our top 5 case notes for this episode. John, Gotham moments of the week. There's a few great moments in here.
I think for me, it's Lucius and Bruce, and I just think it's so funny. I love Bruce Wayne's people. Just the way it's delivered by David Mazouz is really good, and Lucius as well. Just his quizzical look when he's wants to know more about the people, and he gets the face full of ivy spray. It's just so nicely done. I love how
the background melts behind him as well when he gets sprayed with that. Really cool.
It's just really nicely done, but I think there are a few really good moments
for me,
of the week in this. I think there are a few really good moments of the week as well in this episode.
Yeah, and obviously, if anything makes me shed a tear in an episode, I'm going to have to put that in for moment of the week. Alfred and Lee's discussion about being an unwanted... Alfred and Lee's discussion about becoming a parent, even though you may not want to, I think was just a lovely sentiment from Alfred that was really, really enjoyable. Gotham character of the week, really no doubt here. There's so many great characters and so many great performances, but it has to be a one-off character that's coming into the show. Zaz coming back for this episode, kind of have to give him character of the week, regardless of any new characters we saw in here or any old characters returning. It has to be Zaz's episode.
Definitely.
Right?
Yeah,
just so much fun, and he has such a great time on set. You can see it. He's doing another show called Barry. That's why he's not featured as a main character this season. That show is doing really, really well. Just got commissioned for the second season as well. So having him back on the show for another episode this season was something that was always a little bit unlikely. So great to have him back over for this final experience with our favourite Victor Zaz. John, let's get on to our final bit of this episode. How would you rate this episode of Gotham, Season 5, Episode 9, The Trial of Jim Gordon.
I would give this 4 spellbound Zazzes and Zazzettes out of 5. I really, really enjoyed this episode. I think to have Victor Zsasz back, I think to have Jim Gordon's trial and tribulations laid bare here, it is a really nice touch, and I love the fact that, whilst he is going through those trials and tribulations, you have Lee Tompkins going through them on the other side of his hallucination in reality. On the other side of that hallucination in reality, she is having to deal with trying to keep him alive, sort out herself out about the misgivings she has, this idea of looking after a child that him and Barbara had. Really nice stuff. I think Lucius, Bruce, and Victor Zsasz, all under the influence of Poison Ivy, is just so good.
Brilliant.
Really funny moments in Gotham. And of course, bringing Ivy back is a nice touch, and I like the fact that she's doing it to thwart Jim's plan here, which is reunification. She wants a different Gotham for herself and her plants. So this was a nice little episode, and I think, if you can't have a soppy, gooey wedding at the end after 5 seasons with all the love that this cast seemed to have, that you can put it on screen in that way, when can you? So I really thought the ending was superb.
Absolutely. And having Heroic Cat in there as well.
Exactly.
Heroic Selena, always good. Really, really enjoyed this episode overall. As I say, it did feel like Ben McKenzie may have been going around thinking about all of his time on the show, seeing some of the old costumes, seeing the wonderful set for the GCPD. I remember when we saw the first shots of that. It was released about a month before the first episode was out, and how vast that set is. He used every single inch of this set throughout this episode, with everything, all the flashbacks, everything that was going on in his mind was all contained within that one set as well. So really cool. Really, really enjoyed it, I must say. And, hey, look, we're getting 3 more episodes of this wonderful show. As you say, John, why not have a nice sentimental one for all of the fans out there? Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, exactly. On to some Gotham feedback. We just have a small bit of feedback over on our Facebook page from Terry Miller, who says, "So, how long more do you think Lee will live?" Well, exactly, Terry. It is certainly something that seems to be being built up only to be dragged down, possibly by Barbara, possibly by Jeremiah. Who knows? Or we know that Lee can certainly look after herself. She was the Queen of the Narrows. So let's just see. I think she's a bit of a survivor, is old Lee Tompkins. So she may do better than we think.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Really good. Thanks so much for that, Terry.
Yeah, thank you so much, Terry. Yes, we have some more feedback in through from Claire Payne. Claire says, "Keeping writing and directing in the Gotham family has been a real treat to watch. The trial of Jim Gordon certainly brought a complex of truths and emotions to the forefront. Again, Gotham do their hallucinogenic dream sequences really well, and it's a good way for Jim to reflect on his choices he has made. It would have been good to have seen Harvey Dent back to do the prosecution, but it's all about Jim's conscience, so this worked perfectly. The judge, I think, would have been fantastic if Don Carmine Falcone had returned to play that role, considering their rocky history.
Ooh, I like that.
But what a happy romantic ending. I've always loved Jim and Lee as a couple. Harvey was perfect to marry them, and this was another episode where Harvey stood out and wasn't afraid to beat the truth out of whoever had shot Jim. Harvey in that bomb disposal suit was fantastic."
Harvey's never been afraid to beat the truth out of anybody.
Absolutely. But he certainly did like a good old beat down here. Claire carries on and says, "Favourite scene for me of the episode has to be the conversation between Alfred and Lee."
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, most definitely. She says, "It's a very poignant moment, but so true and relatable to real life, and it was so nice for Alfred to share an experience of his life with someone." Character of the episode, a difficult one, as Zaz was brilliant.
Yes.
But I think the return of Ivy Pepper and how quickly she gets to people is always fascinating to watch.
Very true. It's like she walks down the street and is just surrounded by this gaseous, loving eminence coming from her, and just everybody's taken in. Everybody from the mutant leader, who you don't think would have let her pass by or spray him in the face even, all the way to obviously having Bruce having her essence with him to be able to convince Lucius to help them as well. You know, it's so interesting that now it's not just her being involved in it, it's loads of other people going out and doing her missions all around the city. A cool idea, because this is the Ivy Pepper from the comics, the Poison Ivy from the comics that we've got all the way here now.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a really great moment as well between Alfred and Lee, for sure. And I think it was a really good episode. And I think given these were, you know, part of the 2 extra ones, then it's a shame we couldn't get Harvey Dent back, as you said, you know, something that Derek has mentioned. Yeah, and it's a really nice idea on Don Carmine Falcone as the judge. I think that would have been nice for sure. Thank you so much, Claire, for that feedback. Really good of you to send it in. And yeah, the direction and writing being kept within the Gotham family really does lend an air of something just special about the episode.
Sweet, yeah, really sweet to do. I know they do it in a lot of other shows as well, but really cool to have it here. Also, we know, and we haven't mentioned it in quite a while actually, but we know that Lee and Alfred have got a history in the animated series. They've had a relationship, and in some of the comic books they talk about that a little bit as well. So we do know that they are connected. So nice that it's them that has their moment. A lot of these moments only coming out because we had these 2 episodes, but really cool. Thanks so much for that, Claire. Also, Teresa Z Photos put in some feedback to us over on Twitter and Facebook. She says, I agree with you guys. The wedding seemed a bit too daytime soap for me, but as you said, it might mean the end for Leslie Tompkins, freeing up Jim for Babs and their baby. Loved watching Zaz, a favourite moment, even if temporary. Like, absolutely great to see Zaz. As always, he just absolutely steals every minute of the show. I'm still not too sure if Jim would go crawling back to Babs if Lee dies. You know, they might do that thing where the 2 of them are completely separate, and then in 10 years' time, when they do that final episode, maybe they're together, and that's part of the explanation for the 10-year time jump, to kind of go, well, you know, we wouldn't be together except for this tragedy of a situation. But I can't see them getting together in real time before the end of the series, definitely.
No, absolutely. I mean, Zaz is just fantastic here, and definitely so much gooey nougat going on here with that wedding.
So good.
Well, yeah.
Teresa also said over in our Facebook group, Harvey punching out Oswald twice was hilarious. Oswald moving away quickly from Harvey to avoid getting hit. Again, absolutely love Robin and Donald together. Awesome to see them doing scenes together again. They never really got a huge amount of time where it's just Oswald and Harvey, but I love the interaction between these 2. Donald Logue absolutely was my favourite actor coming into the show at the beginning, and Robin Lord Taylor is one of my favourite actors coming out of the show 5 seasons later, so seeing the 2 of them together on screen, always a treat.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Teresa, for all the feedback there. Really good to hear you. And certainly with Harvey, he's always good for a good punch, isn't he?
Definitely. Thanks so much to everybody for their feedback for this week.
We're coming into our last 3 episodes, so if you want to leave any feedback, please contact us through our website voicemail. You can go to gothamtvpodcast.com and leave up to 90 seconds of voicemail over on the right-hand side tab, or you can send it in by email to feedback@gothamtvpodcast.com. Otherwise, there is our Facebook group. Go to facebook.com/groups/Gotham TV Podcasts. Join us over there for sharing all the love on Gotham. And of course, you can listen, subscribe, and leave a review over on our podcast at any good podcast catcher. Just head on over to gothamtvpodcast.com to choose from any good or evil podcast catcher.
Absolutely. Gotham's going on a little bit of a break at the moment. If you want to hear some more podcasts from us, pop on over to defenderstvpodcast.com. We've just finished covering the 2nd season of The Punisher, but also out this week is the next MCU movie. We've gone to see Captain Marvel in the cinema, the 21st movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Come over and join us for our review of that, and well, go see it in the cinema first because it's going to be spoiler-filled anyway. But I highly recommend going to see that in the cinema.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. We will be back with Gotham Season 5, Legend of the Dark Knight, Episode 10, I Am Bane. Yes. What a lovely voice.
That is terrible, John.
I know it is.
But I think that episode comes out the 21st of March, so we'll be back just after that. A little bit of a break for everybody to get over the wedding of Lee and Jim Gordon. And, of course, the Batcat kiss. I think everybody needs a little bit of time to recover from all that love.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, fellow Gothamites, for joining us. As always, it has been a pleasure. I'm going off to go to people. And when I've done that, I will be back with you to speak with you next time, where we'll be talking all about Bane with his lovely voice. Bye.
Bye.
This is Andrew Sellon, Mr. Penn, and the ventriloquist on Gotham.
And this is Scarface. And you're listening to Gotham TV Podcast. Yeah, yeah. And you better keep listening, you hear?